The developer of a sports arena in Brooklyn is using some celebrity firepower to maximum effect. I'm David Gillen, reporting for Business Day Live. I'll also be speaking with Annie Lowry in our D.C. bureau about Paul Ryan's budget plans. And David Halfinger from our Metro desk is here to explain hip-hop mogul JayZ's involvement with the Brooklyn Nets. But first, some developments in the MF Global investigation. As you may recall, more than $1 billion in investor funds disappeared from that brokerage firm 10 months ago. Now it appears that federal investigators will not be charging any senior executives with criminal wrongdoing in the case. Azam Ahmed joins me from DealBook. Morning, Azam.
Morning.
All right, Scoop, you've got an exclusive in the Times today. It looks as if John Corzine, former New Jersey governor, senator, and honcho at Goldman Sachs, is going to get off on any criminal charges. Quickly, what boggles my mind here is MF Global committed the sin of sins for a broker-dealer. They mixed up money from segregated accounts of their customers with their own to prop up their faltering business. Why isn't this a crime?
When you talk to folks involved in the investigation, it seems like it was just this catastrophic event. The circumstances of stupidity, error, poor risk controls,
we've heard
and
this
chaos.
Before.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not an uncommon narrative,
Yeah.
but as a lot of these guys like to say, greed and stupidity are not crimes.
Exactly. But Corzine did oversee this massive and massively bungled bet on European debt that took down this firm very rapidly. What are the chances that some lesser executive is going to get thrown under the bus here? That John Corzine will go out? I heard a report recently that he may be setting up a hedge fund.
Yeah.
He'll move on to other things and so forth. But is there some underling who's going to actually take the fall for this?
They've been focusing on one back office person in the Chicago office. This individual is in charge of overseeing the transfer of customer money. So far, she has declined to cooperate with authorities unless she gets an immunity deal.
Okay.
It's unclear whether they have enough information to charge her at this point, but it doesn't look like any of the very top executives are going to face criminal liability. Now, Corzine probably will, or I shouldn't say will, but could face civil liabilities. He's already been sued by the trustee.
Right.
And various other regulators might choose to take action as well.
Right, exactly. There was some news on that yesterday, some developments from the trustee, right?
Exactly. The bankruptcy trustee overseeing the return of customer money, which has already sued, or the customers have already sued the company and others, but they added Mr. Corzine and other top executives to the lawsuit.
Okay, but this is going to be a legal morass, right?
Yeah.
This is going to drag on and on.
Exactly. These things take forever.
Okay, but here, the meta point here, I think, for a lot of people, a lot of folks are puzzled, many are angry about the lack of charges, on Wall Street in general in the wake of the financial crisis. I mean, very few had been successfully prosecuted. Is this because, one, no crimes were committed, two, crimes were committed but we just can't prove it, or the feds don't have the firepower or the stomach to go after them?
I think it's hard for me to speak, make a broad statement about all of those cases, but largely I just don't think actual crimes were committed. I mean, Senator Levin sent out a statement the other day saying maybe we need new rules that make things, more things criminal, but ultimately I don't think you're going to see the federal government is incentivized to go after these guys. I mean, they know the populace is really angry. They know people want scalps, but just because people want scalps doesn't mean you can manufacture wrongdoing. Right. So, in some ways, it's where the chips fell.
Got it. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
We're going to turn now to politics and the economy. The Romney campaign has been faced with some pretty stark budget choices with the selection of Paul Ryan as a running mate. But has Mitt Romney pseudo-rejected the Ryan budget cuts, particularly to Medicare? Annie Lowry joins me from Washington. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning. Hi.
Good. So the Democrats, of course, are painting the Ryan congressional budget proposals as radical and extreme, and Mitt Romney has unsurprisingly, said that's completely wrong. But he does seem to be distancing himself somehow, from the Ryan budget proposals. What's going on?
So the key here is that Mitt Romney has put out a budget proposal that kind of it uses broad strokes. We have a general sense of what he would like to do. Sort of the firmest proposal is that he wants to give a 20% rate cut in each tax bracket. Okay. So the 35% tax bracket would go down to 28, and he would make up for the lost revenue by eliminating deduction. So that's kind of one of the hard things that we know about it. The question is actually how to do that, and it's very, very difficult to do because people like a lot of of these tax expenditures, they're hard to cut. So things like the home mortgage interest deduction is something that middle-class families really, count on when they're buying a house. But Paul Ryan has put out a budget that is similar in some ways to what Mitt Romney has said he wants to do. Mitt Romney has said that he endorsed the Ryan budget. But there's a fair amount of detail in there about the changes that he would make, both on the spending side and the tax side. And so for Mitt Romney, he's kind of distanced himself from the budget also, and he said, look, we have our own plan. We're not embracing all of this. But Democrats have pushed really, really hard to get him to say his opinion of each one of these very controversial facets.
Yeah, I know budget math always, it gives a lot of people a headache. It's hugely important, of course, but what do these two guys agree on specifically? They obviously agree that President Obama's health care reform should be repealed, right, and that federal spending should be reduced. But this Medicare, on the question of Medicare, that seems to be a sticking point, no?
So on the tax side, they agree on a lot of things. I would describe Ryan's budget as a little bit more aggressive than Romney's. Ryan, for instance, has proposed giving us just 2 tax brackets, one I believe at 10% and one at 25%, whereas Mitt Romney has kept more of the existing structure. On the spending side, which is the side that you're talking about, Paul Ryan has proposed pretty dramatic changes to Social Security to do a partial privatization. He's proposed pretty profound changes to how Medicare is administrated, and big changes also to how Medicaid, which is the health program for the poor, is administrated. And Mitt Romney has not given so much detail on those. And Paul Ryan's proposals, even some Republicans have said that they aren't totally comfortable with them and how quickly they might go into effect. And especially, you're right, seniors might not like the idea of having Medicare changed. Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney have talked about making sure that that doesn't happen for quite some time, but nevertheless, it's a pretty profound change to the program.
We were talking just before the show began, there's so many numbers flying around out there, so many different, strident tones on both sides. What's it been like to cover this, It can't be an easy thing.
It's great as somebody who's really interested in this stuff. The whole campaign, it's just like budget fever in Washington. One thing that's interesting is both sides have sort of pivoted away from talking about the current state of the economy, the unemployment crisis, which is ongoing, and it's become very much about the debt and how to tackle it and these big changes to kind of the structure of government. That's been very interesting to watch, and I think, as we start to get more jobs reports and get closer to the election, the expectation is that Romney will go back to this message that he's promoting has been promoting for a year now, which is that Barack Obama has not been a very good steward of the recovery. So I think we expect people to turn back around to that.
Annie, thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
And finally, we'll end up back in New York. The long-delayed development of a sports arena in Brooklyn is nearing completion, and when the home of the Brooklyn Nets opens next month, it will be with a series of shows from the hip-hop star JayZ, who also happens to be an investor in the team. But unlike a lot of marquee celebrity investors in the past, JayZ has put an indelible mark on the project. David Halfinger joins me from the Metro Desk. Morning, David. Good. So, as you write, this has been done elsewhere. Usher with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Will Smith with the 76ers, Jennifer Lopez, Mark Anthony with Miami Dolphins, but no team has come close to making so much out of a famous part owner. Why has JayZ taken such an outsized role in the Nets?
Well, he's got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
He's bringing a lot to the table. It's true that a number of teams have followed the Nets to some degree in bringing eye candy to their arenas. J-Lo at the Dolphins and so on. But JayZ has a lot of ideas, and he's not shy about contributing them. He's offered his input on everything from helping design the logo and the uniforms, even talking about seams on the uniform shirts, to and the color scheme, the black and white color scheme, which is pretty stark, to how to deal with security at the arena in downtown Brooklyn. How do you screen people for maybe weapons potentially without offending their sensibilities, and those who are certainly not carrying anything. He's obviously contributed advice about what music to play, the costumes of the dancers, all kinds of stuff. He's got a lot of ideas, and he's watching closely.
Right. He's a savvy business guy. There's no doubt about it. His stake is minuscule.
Yeah,
his stake is absolutely minuscule.
It started tiny and it got smaller.
Okay. So for him as a businessman, is this the upside here really in maybe endorsement type stuff and so on?
Well, there's definitely been upside already for him in endorsements. He's you may have seen commercials during the Olympics of him wearing a Nets hat and a Budweiser ad. He's also the executive producer of the upcoming revised NBA video game. But he is also going to get paid by the arena in a number of different ways. You know, it started with a free use of a very exclusive, very pricey luxury suite that other people have to pay $550,000 for each year. He doesn't. He's also going to have his 40/40 clubs will have an outpost there. The Rockaware chain that he started and still is affiliated with will have a store. Even a champagne, Armand de Brignac, that he has some sort of financial relationship with, will be poured in abundant quantities, no doubt. And his own, he's got an investment, a half ownership of an advertising agency that, guess what? Their accounts include the Nets. So
Smart guy.
Synergy is his middle name.
Smart guy. Now, was this something that you get a sense of that was planned from the get-go, or did it just sort of evolve? Because this project has been a long, drawn-out thing.
I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams, aside from perhaps JayZ himself, we'll never know, foresaw the amount of effort and creative input he would deliver. I think Bruce Ratner, the developer of the arena, was looking desperately for some credibility in Brooklyn. JayZ, of course, grew up 2 miles from this project, from this site, in a housing project, and had plenty of credibility with basketball fans, with Brooklyn residents of a certain age or younger. I think that's all he was hoping for. Maybe some boldface, ink in the gossip columns now and then, but he got so much more.
David, thanks a lot.
You bet.
That's all for today, but stay with us online at nytimes.com for our continuing coverage of this and other stories. I'm David Gillen reporting for Business Day Live. Thanks for watching.